Joining us now is outsider, regular and freelance filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Great to see you, Ami. How are you?
Oh, it's great to be back, guys. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're very well. Well, what did you make of that exchange between Rand Paul, and is Rachel Levine seriously going to be the Assistant Secretary of Health in the U.S.?
Well, let's understand who Rachel Levine is, first of all. Rachel Levine was the head of Health and Human Services in the state of Pennsylvania. Rachel Levine, like Cuomo, who we'll probably be talking about, pushed to put COVID-positive patients into nursing homes in Pennsylvania. Now, how do we know this is a stupid idea, other than our brain? Is because Rachel Levine took her mom out of a nursing home in anticipation of the COVID-positive patients coming to the nursing homes. So to give you a sense, this is what her qualifications are to be Assistant Health and Human Services Director here in the U.S. Now, whenever they were mentioning Rachel Levine, they kept saying, we're so proud to have a trans woman up for this office. That I care who this person is in terms of I want their qualifications. I don't care about their sexual orientation or the fact they have body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia. But that exchange highlights something so important. The exchange less so than the reaction to the exchange. If across the board, mainstream media and left-of-center media excoriated Rand Paul for his insensitive remarks to Rachel Levine, even though what he's asking are core questions. And by the way, I want to make sure you understand, this is not academic. This is not like, hey, theoretically, if somebody wants to do this, what do we do? There are dozens and dozens. I think there's over 150 centers for youth who feel they may be trans. And in one place in Los Angeles, one location that helps trans youth said they've done over 200 mastectomies on minors who felt they were in fact not women and actually men. This is not an academic issue. This is a real issue that we're dealing with. These culture issues affects the direction of our country.
And that character just refused to answer the question. Now, you mentioned Cuomo. Kick us off. Tell us what's been happening with, as Rita mentioned, Cuomo. Tell us the story.
Oh, God, where do we start with that one? Okay, let's take a step back at Cuomo for a second. To understand how far he's fallen, we have to look at how high he was. Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, was an absolute rock star among the mainstream media. In fact, he was a sex god. All these actresses were talking about how much they wanted to be with this guy, okay? Which, by the way, blows my mind because he is so ugly. But never mind that, okay? He was having these atrocious, crazily boring press conferences, just reading numbers. There was nothing to it. But for some reason, people gravitated toward this, this vision he's created for himself. Now, to give you a sense of how terrible a governor he was when it came to coronavirus, New York State is the #2 state in the country with deaths per million, right? So he is actually almost double the rate of terrible, horrible Florida in terms of deaths per million, even though Florida is a far older state with a population far more vulnerable to the virus. Yet somehow he was still transformed into this rock star, this potential presidential candidate. Now, what we then found out, actually, this is also important. This was coming out in the mainstream media over the last couple of weeks, but people who knew about this knew that he, like Rachel Levine, were pushing coronavirus positive older people into old age homes who were ill-equipped, who said we can't take them. But he pushed them there and forced them there anyways, leading to the direct deaths of many of the people living in those facilities. Now, we knew this a long time ago, and we also knew he was hiding the numbers. This is not news, but it became news because after the election, the mainstream media said, okay, it's now okay to discuss the scandal. So the scandal then broke open. And then what happened was one of his aides, a woman named DeRosa, then in a private conversation with Democrats, admitted that they actually hid and fudged the numbers for the Justice Department of Donald Trump. Now, they did that because they didn't want to get the blowback that was obviously going to come. But that turns out to be illegal. So now he's actually in a lot of legal hot water about lying about it. And then the cherry on top of the rancid cake was, of course, this guy just got Me Too'd. Oh, Schadenfreude. Sorry, guys. That's the way I feel. Okay? That he went out, this woman named Blasio, I believe her name, Blasio, an assistant for years, very left of center this woman is, who he was harassing and making her life horrific for years. In fact, I mean, I'm talking about like juvenile pickup lines like, hey, let's play strip poker, man. Or I think he made this dated 90s joke about a cigar and Bill Clinton. Yeah, by the way, the 90s call, they want their joke back. That was meta, by the way. I know that my joke was, in fact, a dated joke. So, yeah, that's what's going on with Andrew Cuomo. It's crazy.
James.
I just want to go back to Rachel Levine for a second here. We always hear that the left is the party of science and Democrats respect the facts. But is this just a case now and showing us really just how much that they actually want to twist science to meet their own preconceived ideologies and narratives?
Absolutely. Totally. This party of science, it's a bunch of baloney. And this is a perfect example of proving how science doesn't matter. Look, science doesn't matter it's never mattered to the left. Okay, when it comes to Joe Biden saying that after we're all vaccinated, we've reached herd immunity, we're still going to have to wear masks. That's not what the science shows, but they still will trump it out. Science, science, science. This is a perfect example. No, they don't care about science. They don't care about biology. It means nothing to them. Nothing. What political ideology? Uber alles.
Rita.
Well, on Cuomo, you're right. The media suddenly got interested in just how badly he mishandled COVID after Trump was defeated, when he was no longer useful to them. Just tell us about what's driving this now, because there seems to be now this far-left faction of the Democrats in New York who think Cuomo is perhaps not left enough, and they've got their own ideas of who could replace him.
Yeah, beware of the left, because they eat their own, and this is a perfect example of that. Yes, look, first of all, Cuomo has never been liked by anybody. He was never liked by the people in his own party. He's a bully. They've known that, and they were looking for a reason to devour him, and this was the reason. So now you have people like AOC. You have people like Bill de Blasio. Ron Kim was was the Democratic congressperson, Democratic assemblyman who he threatened. These guys are now all coming after his blood because he was never a guy they liked. He is relatively, in terms of the political spectrum, a moderate, and these guys hated his moderation. So they found an excuse, a leverage point to go after him. So all the big names in New York State, the knives are out, and they are carving the man up.
There we go, the left eating their own. Who'd have ever thought that would happen, Ami? I mean, what a surprise. Here we go. I think this one's going to keep us very busy. I wonder when they'll turn on Joe Biden next. You watch this space. Thanks, Ami Horowitz. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure.